Hey guys, it's Miss Winky, and I am back with Notes 3, which is about Georgia's key physical features. Just like last time, put it in present mode if you like to be able to see things full screen. Anything that's hyperlinked and is green in this presentation, that's going to have pictures or quick videos or articles about those things, just to kind of give you more information about those specifics. And then also, when you get to the point where there is some sort of review for you to do, you'll need to take it out of present mode so that you're able to manipulate those pages. Okay, so the first on the list of Georgia's key physical features is the Appalachian Mountains. These start over in Alabama, but we don't hold that against the Appalachian Mountains. I guess they had to start somewhere. The best part of them, in my opinion, runs through the state of Georgia. They go over 2,000 miles through North Georgia and all the way up into Canada, or Canada, as I like to say. So really long mountain chain, 2,000 miles long. They're one of the oldest mountain chains in the world, and we know that because if you look at them in the distance, they have kind of a rounded shape to them. That's because erosion has worn them down over time. So that rounded appearance is what tells us that they're really old, and that's because of the effects of erosion. Sometimes they're referred to as the Blue Ridge Mountains in the south because from a distance, they look blue. So if you look at both of these pictures up here, you can see that from a distance, they kind of take on this bluish appearance. It is not because they are actually blue. It's just like the leaves, the foliage from the trees that all kind of blends together and gives them that color. They are super important to the climate of the state of Georgia because they lie in the path of those warm, moist air currents that come up from the Gulf of Mexico. And those are the moist air currents that produce heavy rainfall and heavy snowfall. So that's why the Blue Ridge region ends up getting the most precipitation, because those warm, moist air currents hit there and drop all that rainfall and snowfall on that particular region. They're also really scenic, and that brings a lot of tourists to Georgia's mountain regions. Next on our list is Georgia's rivers. As you can see from the map, Georgia's got a lot of rivers, but the only two that are going to be in the standards for you that you have to know for this course are the Chattahoochee and the Savannah. The Chattahoochee is probably the one you're the most familiar with. It starts in the Blue Ridge region, and it actually runs through the city of Atlanta. It forms part of the border between Georgia and Alabama, and then extends down into Florida. It provides hydroelectric power, recreation for sure, because Lake Lanier is made from the Chattahoochee River, and a lot of people like to go boating and jet skiing and fishing on Lake Lanier. So it provides recreation, and then it also provides the drinking water for the Piedmont. There are several man-made reservoirs on the Chattahoochee River that provide drinking water for the Piedmont region. Over here to the east, we've got the Savannah River. That's the second of the two rivers that you need to know for this course. The Savannah forms most of the border between Georgia and South Carolina, and it enters the state up in Hart County and runs through Augusta and Savannah, and then empties into the Atlantic Ocean. It's also a source of power. It's a source of drinking water, and it's used for recreation. There are definitely some lakes that have been formed by damming up the Savannah that are used for recreation, and it's still used for trade, because if you look right there, that's Savannah. And Savannah is where one of our deep water ports is located, and that's where the Savannah River meets the Atlantic Ocean. So the Savannah River is still used for trade today. Chattahoochee River, not so much. Okay, the fall line. I think I pointed this out to you guys in notes 2 when we talked about the Piedmont. The fall line separates the Piedmont and the coastal plain. It's where those two regions meet. It's 20 miles wide. The early, and by wide, I mean going this way, obviously not going that way, but going this way. Early settlers offloaded their goods here. They would bring things through rivers, and then once they got to the fall line, there were waterfalls located there. And so they couldn't get their ships up the waterfall, obviously. So they would take their goods off there. And so cities began to develop there, like Columbus and Macon and Augusta. Those are all located at the fall line. The reason it's called the fall line is because the elevation falls sharply towards sea level here. So those rolling hills of the Piedmont stop and drop off at the fall line to the coastal plain. The coastal plain's land is a lot flatter. There are a lot of waterfalls located there. So that region or that area of Georgia is really great for water power. And let me click on this to show you an example of those waterfalls. And I know this picture is not super big, but you can see, look at how this just drops straight off and makes that waterfall. And you can see that a mill was built here and they used that hydroelectric power. So those waterfalls, like I mentioned, were used to operate mills and machinery before we had electricity. So the fall line provided an alternate source of power. All right, we're going to move on to the barrier islands. The barrier islands are all found along Georgia's coastline. You can see them named here down the side. Okay. They're called barrier islands because they protect the mainland from wind and wave erosion. So the barrier islands take the brunt of all the erosion along Georgia's coast that comes from wind and comes from waves. Historically speaking, many of Georgia's plantations were located there. We'll talk about plantations more when we get to the Civil War, and actually we'll talk about them some in colonial Georgia, but plantation is a name for a really large farm. I think it's like 5,000 acres or more. It has to be in order for it to be considered a plantation, and they raised cash crops. Cotton is the one that comes to mind most obviously, but along the barrier islands, in addition to cotton, they were also growing rice and indigo and tobacco. The barrier islands support industries like tourism and recreation, especially the beaches on those barrier islands depend on tourists, and tourists come there to have fun. That's what recreation is. They also support the fishing and paper industries. Some of Georgia's barrier islands are open to the public, like, for example, St. Simon's, Jekyll, Tybee, which is the beach that my family and I go to every summer and stay for a week. So they're open to the public and they're tourist attractions. There are those examples. But then others are like wildlife refuges and wilderness sanctuaries, meaning that you might be able to visit, but you can't go there and stay because they've tried to kind of preserve that land for animals. And examples of those would be Wolf Island, Wassaw Island, and Blackbeard Island. And in case you're wondering, Blackbeard Island is named after the pirate Blackbeard, even though like Blackbeard is really more associated with the North Carolina coast than he is with the Georgia coast. Apparently he hung out here a little bit too, and there are stories, mind you, not necessarily fact, but stories that he buried treasure on that island, and that's why it's called Blackbeard Island. So maybe that's why it's a wildlife refuge and you're not allowed to go there. Maybe they were sick of people coming and digging stuff up. I don't know, trying to protect that treasure. All right, so next up is the Okefenokee Swamp. That's located south of the city of Waycross, and it's in the coastal plain region. And you can see it located right here on the map. So there's Georgia's coastal plain region there. And then there's our border with the state of Florida. It is the largest freshwater swamp or wetland in North America. It covers 500,000 acres, which is roughly 700 square miles of land, and it extends into Florida. So we have to share it with the state of Florida. It's a freshwater wetland, meaning that the water there is not salt water. It's fresh. And the water lies really close to the surface. And that's why the Choctaw Indians referred to it as the land of the trembling earth, because you didn't have to dig very far to find water in that area. And in some places, the land was super swampy and you would just walk out and push, you're in the water. So they called it the land of the trembling earth, meaning that it wasn't necessarily solid ground. It's got lots of different species of plants and animals, and some of them are endangered. So in 1937, it became a wildlife refuge. I think that was FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was the one that declared it a wildlife refuge. I have to check my notes, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Okay, so now we're at the review pages. So what you'll do is take yourself out of present mode. For this one, you're going to use the notes and then you're going to label the numbered physical features. All the physical features that I just went over in the notes are labeled on this map. So you're going to look at the number. So like right here, it's number 1. So you need to name that physical feature in this space on the chart. Once you're finished with that, click on down to the last slide, and that's the physical features review. So you'll see each of Georgia's physical features named at the top in white, and underneath them are 3 descriptions, but those are all mixed up. So what you're going to need to do is drag the descriptions to the physical feature that they describe. And when you're done, you should have 3 for each physical feature, and you'll have 1 of each color. So for the Appalachian Mountains, you'll have 1 red description, 1 purple description, and 1 blue description. And like I said, these are not in the right place. So you're going to need to drag them around and reorient them so that you have them in the correct location. Now look, while I've got you in edit mode, let me show you something super cool. See this picture here of the Okefenokee Swamp? Watch this. Oh my gosh, look at that. Is it upside down? Is it right side up? I don't know. Watch this. Let's do it again. I did it again. Is it right side up? Is it upside down? I don't know. Frankly, I think right now it's right side up. I think the other way was upside down. But you know what? You be the judge. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys today. You need to finish up your physical features review and then move on. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.